Hello, good evening, good people. How's everyone doing today? All right, my immigration fam, we have another topic today. So let's get started. I'm going to wait for people to join me. It's January 29, 2026. And let me introduce myself to those who are joining me for the first time. Please feel free to ask questions. When I'm done, you can put in the comment section. So my name is Ifama Odunlami. I'm an immigration attorney from the Odunlami law firm. We have two physical offices in New Jersey and in Texas, but we serve clients in all 50 states of the United States and abroad, people who are looking to come into the United States, people who are here already and who are looking to get their statuses so that they can live here in the United States without fear of being removed, without fear of being deported, without fear of being separated from their family members. So I'm not only an immigration lawyer, I'm also an immigrant. Some Emmy says, I want to migrate to America so bad, no matter the ice. So I'm also an immigrant. So I've been in this country longer than I lived in my own country. I've been here over, I don't know, what, 34 years maybe. And so, as you all can tell, I wasn't born here. My parents were not born here. My siblings were not born here. But so all of us went through the immigration process. And as a result of going through the immigration process, our families' lives changed. We have families here, we have children here, and our children are first generation Americans who I've tried to teach them about what it is, what immigrants go through, to give them that sensitivity, as they go out in the world, to know that everyone does not have it easy like they do. They're not looking for work permits. When they look for a job, they don't have to worry about whether the application will come through, like we did, right? And I remember one time when I had I think it was when I had my oldest daughter. She was just newly born, and one of our paperwork had expired. I don't remember what it was now, because this was such a while ago. This was over 23 years ago, and 22 years ago maybe. And she was sick, and I couldn't. Back then, I wanted to take her to the doctor, but I couldn't drive because my paperwork needed to be renewed. And as a first-time mom, I was so afraid to hold her and take her in a cab without a car seat, because I think she was literally just like maybe a month or so. And I just remember the anguish of having a sick child and being afraid to get to the hospital because I didn't know how to get her there without violating the law, because I'm a rule follower. And I think we're finally able to find somebody, because back then I was, maternity leave, I was home. So most people were not home. Most people couldn't take time off, but I found somebody who was able to pick us and take us there and all that. But there are a lot of things that, waiting for your paperwork stops you from doing. And back then it was hard. And we thought it was hard. We didn't know it was going to get even harder, because now it's just so it's so difficult for people. There's this, there's the trauma of watching ICE and seeing what they're doing to other people, and being afraid that if you are outside or even in your home, because now we're hearing that ICE is breaking into people's homes. And you guys have talked about your rights when you confront ICE. Go to my webpage. I have all of that written down. Maybe I'll do it again, because of course they feel that they can do whatever they want to do. But guess what? The rule of law still holds, and you don't have any choice but to hold on to at least what your rights tell you what your rights have told you you can hold on to. So whether or not they're breaking the laws by barging into your home without a warrant, you still need to know what your rights are and be able to articulate it, because it could become important if there's, your lawyer needs that information to be able to fight for you. So, um, today I want to talk about something I haven't talked about in a long time. And the reason I haven't talked about it in a long time is because there's been so many changes. There was a time where we were literally just in a holding pattern, waiting for, I guess, the go ahead in a sense. And I'll tell you why. So I want to talk about Special Immigrant Juvenile Status. This is a way for young people to get a green card. And it's gotten more difficult now. And the administration has really removed a lot of the privileges that were attendant to SIJS. So, and this is the reason I tell people, if you have a pathway, file right away. Because about like 5 years ago, when we filed, 5 years or so ago, when we filed for SIJS, young people were getting a green card within like 5 months. We would file for it. There were visas available, at least for people that were not in the, that were most states apart from, I guess there was some countries like Guatemala and all that that had a waiting period, but other countries didn't have a waiting period. So literally you file once you get your SIJS approved, you get deferred action, which means you cannot be deported. And literally, we would file an adjustment of status at the same time. And we were having our clients get work permits, become US citizens within literally like 5 months, sometimes 6, 7, 8, but the longest I think I ever had was a year. And I remember that because she got the green card just before her birthday, and I invited her to my office because her aunt was a colleague of mine, and she came in, and we told her we wanted to give her a birthday gift, and I gave her her green card, and that was just so awesome. And she wants to be a pilot, and she's doing great things. I spoke to her aunt recently, and she says she's doing great things in school. I'm so proud of her, so happy for her. And so while I'm talking about SIJS, I also want to tell you about this case, about how we got to, how her aunt got to know that SIJS was the right path for her. She had reached out to me. Her aunt she's a lawyer, but she's a family lawyer. She had reached out to me and asked if she could file a petition for her niece. I think actually it was her cousin's daughter, so not like a blood-related niece. And I said to her, why are you looking to file a petition for her? Because she was here on F1, she was here on a student visa. And I said, why are you looking to file a petition for her? Well, first of all, as an aunt, you cannot file, as a cousin, aunt, whatever, you can't file a petition for her. And so, and that would have ended it, I could have just said, that's it. But, because we were in a relaxed atmosphere where we could talk some more, I said, well, tell me more about what's going on with your niece, right? And she said to me, well, her mother had died of cancer, and her father, she never had any relationship with her father. When her mother died, they decided to bring her over here to go to school because there was nobody in their country that was able to take care of her. They had a grandma, but she was really old, she was sickly. So the families got together and, applied for her to come to school here. And so I said, well, you cannot file for her as her aunt or her cousin, but you can file for her under something called Special Immigrant Juvenile Status. And that will enable her to be on a pathway to getting a green card. She can get her green card, and after she gets her green card, she can become a US citizen. Now, this is like 5 years now, so she should be applying for her citizenship anytime soon. So we talked about that, and the reason I bring this up is a lot of times you guys ask me questions on here, and the reason I remind you that I'm not giving you legal advice is because I have a 30 minutes on this, and I don't go into details. So if you ask me something like, I have a cousin, can I file for her? My answer will be no, and I'll keep moving. And that stops a line of inquiry, right? But if you have a consultation, at that point, whoever you're having a consultation with, the lawyer you're having the consultation will dig in deeper, right? So whatever I tell you here, please realize that this is just information. It's not legal advice because I don't know your story. Thank you, Edith. So let's get into SIJS. And I love SIJS because I love young people. It hurts me to see young people come in here to this country and have to suffer because they found themselves here. Some of them coming through the border by themselves. Some of them coming with a family, with a parent, and that parent has no papers, and or maybe even the parent get papers at some point, but this child is not able to get papers. Because, and what does that mean for a young person? They're going to school, they may even go to college, right? But they come out and they cannot work. And how do you tell a young person that they have no life, that they're going to live all their life in hiding? Because they've grown up here, they don't have any memories of where they came from some of the time, and you're now asking them to be in hiding for the rest. That is just so horrible. I always tell parents, if you're coming to the United States, or you plan to if you plan to immigrate, right, you have to have a plan if you're bringing your children, right? And sometimes there are other ways to come in here and be legal. You have to inquire. You should not bring children in here and then just be like, well, I don't know what's going to happen to them. I know a lot of parents are really trying to get a better life for their children. I totally understand that. But you should have a plan. Talk to somebody, talk to a lawyer. So let's get into SIJS. I'm sorry that that was my phone and my because I'm on Instagram, and I'm also on TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. So I'm in 4 places. So I have different gadgets. So let's talk about SIJS, so that if this is helpful to you, great, give us a call. Let's help you. If you know somebody that this could be helpful to, even better. We want to make sure that our community is informed. So Special Immigrant Juvenile Status is a way for young people to get a green card. So it's a 2-part process, right? The first part is in family court, in state court. So for you to qualify for Special Immigrant Juvenile Status, first of all, there are 5 elements you need to meet. Number 1, you have to be present in the United States. Number 2, you have to be under 21 and unmarried. Number 3, you have to show you've been abused, abandoned, or neglected by at least one parent. Doesn't have to be both parents. And in some states, the death of a parent is seen as abandonment because that parent is not available, right? And number 4, you have to show that you're better off in the United States. It's better for you to stay in the United States than to go back to your country, right? And so to do the family court process, you're going to need a guardian. That guardian can be somebody, family over the age of 21, friend over the age of 21, or just somebody who has an interest in you. I've done SIJS cases where it's somebody who knew of this child's predicament and stepped in to take care of them and is now looking to help them get status, right? It could be a parent where that parent is not the abusive parent or not the parent that caused the abandonment or the neglect, right? The abuse or the abandonment or the neglect does not have to have happened in the United States. It could have happened in their own home country, because we have kids coming here, fleeing their country because they've suffered abuse, right? Sometimes it's children who suffered some form of physical abuse by their parents, children that their parents have stopped them from going to school and forced them to go to work in a farm, right? That's educational neglect, right? Parents who maybe their kids, parents who have not taken care of their kids since their kids came into the United States, have no idea what they're doing, and basically don't even keep in touch, you know. It could be children who are being verbally abused, physically abused, because physical abuse is really not acceptable here in the United States. But in some countries, they think spare the rod and spoil the child is a mandate. So you see these parents beating kids with whips and chains and all manners of things because they think they're trying to make them right. That's just horrible. you know. And we have children who are being parentified, you know. They're not allowed to go to school. They're forced to go and cook, forced to take care of their younger siblings, forced to, you know, go out there and provide for the family. Whatever the case may be, right? If that child happens to be in the United States and that child meets the requirements for SIJS, they have a chance of getting a green card, right? So talking about the first part of the process, which is family court. Family court is state court, so you have to basically comply with the rules of the court with regards to getting the order from the judge. So in some states, the judge only has jurisdiction over the minor when the minor is less than 18. In other states, it's 19. In other states, it's 21, maybe 20. You know, but the bottom line is, if you're in a state where the judge only has jurisdiction when the child is 18, which means that after 18 they're no longer considered a minor, right? And nobody can get guardianship of them. Then you're out of luck, right? But if you're in a state where the age limit is, you know, higher, then and you're in luck. So if you're 18 years old, you will be out of luck in Texas. But if you lived in New Jersey or New York or Boston, Massachusetts, or a lot of this Connecticut, you're in luck, right? So the first step is to prepare a petition to the court so that the court makes a predicate finding that this young person has been subjected to abuse, abandonment, or neglect by one parent. Could be two, could be one, and there's a guardian who's willing to take care of them. And like I said, that guardian could be anybody. What judges are looking at is somebody who is invested in this child, really wants to take care of this child until the child can take care of themselves. So they're housing them, they're giving them food, rent, clothing, being there emotionally supportive for them. That guardian can also be a parent, right? So once we get the predicate order, we file from the judge. That predicate order requires a hearing before the judge, right? And it requires testimony to be taken. And so once that's done and the court makes a finding, it makes the finding that we're looking for, then we take that order and we file the form I-360, right? That's the form for SIJS, and we submit it to USCIS. Now, for USCIS, they must receive the petition before that person turns 21. So it's not a mailed by, it's received by. So a lot of times there's an urgency to filing this, because in family court, we have no control over the court's calendar. So I always say, you really want to, if you're going to be turning 18 anytime soon, you really want to, you know, get to an attorney as soon as possible. If you're in a state where the cutoff age is 21, you really want to do it as soon as possible. And you really want to do this ASAP, because the laws keep changing. Like I said, 5 years ago, we were able to get kids a green card within a short period of time. Now, when we file SIJS, we get the approval, but we don't, the visa, there's a backlog. So they have to wait maybe 3-4 years. We don't even know, because we look at the visa bulletin every month to figure out what case are they working on right now. And when the Trump administration came in, they changed, this was around maybe April or May or June or thereabouts, they changed the availability of deferred action, because in the past, once you get SIJS, you would get deferred action, which means you cannot be deported. You would also be able to get a work permit, right? That changed, and there was a lawsuit, right? Because they removed deferred action, which also removed the ability to get work permits. But there was a lawsuit by I think it was some non-for-profit group, and we won that lawsuit. So now deferred action is supposed to be back, but it's very fluid, because we're still not seeing deferred action back. And there was something that came in recently, which just, the language was just very confusing. But regardless of how it works out, having a petition filed is better than having nothing. So whether you have deferred action or not, it's still better to have an SIJS application approved, because that's something that your attorney can use to fight for you if you ever come, if you come before ICE, or if you're in removal proceedings, right? So right now we're still kind of trying to figure out how we can get work permits, because if somebody has to wait for 3-4 years before they get their green card, they really need to be doing something, right? So that's the battle. But like I said, it's important for a child to get some status that gives them a future in this country. I can't tell you how many times when I do a consultation and a kid comes in and they're crying because they don't understand why their younger sibling, who was born here in America, has, is able to just move through life. They're going to school, they're doing whatever they need to do, and because their parents brought them here when they were young, they had no papers and they're stuck. They go to school. I had a kid that was like, she went to Harvard, no job, can't work, can't do internships, can't do anything. And it's just so, I feel bad for those parents, because a lot of times people don't know this, which is one of the reasons I make this videos, because I want people to understand what it means to bring a child here and they have no status. So if this is you or somebody you know, and SIJS will be a pathway for your child, you really want to do this. Like when I do consultations, I zero in on how many kids do you have? How old are they? Do they have the other parent in their life? Has that other parent been abusive? Has that other parent abandoned them? Has that other parent been neglectful? And I tell them, we're going to handle your child's case first, unless it's a case where that child can get a derivative benefit from the parent filing, because you have to prioritize your child. You've got to, because once that child turns 21, it's very complicated, very hard for them to get a green card, because the pathways for them, just basically disappear unless they get married. But who's getting married at the age of 21? You know what I'm saying? So, and some kids at that age, they're not looking to get married. They just want to get a job, live their life, figure out what they want to do, not try to figure out whether, the person they're dating can file for them, whether they can get married, whether they need to start making plans to build their life together. That's unfair, So the good thing about SIJS is it doesn't matter how you enter. It doesn't matter if you came through the border, you had a visa, your visa expired, you're on F1, you're H1. It doesn't, well, H1 means that you're working, so you're clearly over the age of 21, but they don't care about your how you came into the country, which is better than other parts of what other pathways, where if you came in through the border, you're closed out of certain things, right? SIJS is a humanitarian pathway. Basically, it's there to help, right? Now, another thing that you have to be aware of SIJS. If your child gets SIJS, they can't file for you, all right? Another thing is, if you're a child that has SIJS status, you really have to be like a saint, because if you have any criminal record, you're really putting your SIJS status in danger. You can get yourself deported because of that. All right. So if you're SIJS, don't hang out with people doing marijuana, because marijuana is still a crime under federal law. So stay away from friends that are troublesome. Stay away from trouble. Just be good. All right. So what else? So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about with regards to SIJS. We've helped so many people, and I tell you, there's nothing as just as wonderful as knowing that a young person has a future, right? That they're not restricted by the decisions of their circumstances, by the decisions of their parents or anything, And when I hear people tell me things like, I never heard of this until I heard you on live, and I looked into it, and I came in here and you filed, and I mean, it's just awesome. We need to protect children. We need to help them, find the future that is awaiting them. Okay. So, all right, guys, let me take a couple questions. And please, if this video has been of value to you, or you know it could be valuable to somebody else, don't forget to share and don't forget to subscribe so that when I come on, you're notified. And for those, let me give you our office phone number, because we only take consultations by appointment only. So the best way to make an appointment is to call our office, and the number is 973-993-1900 or 713-600-1909. Again, we have 2 physical offices, but we represent clients in all 50 states. It does not matter where you are. We're here to help you. And I do this work with the help of a wonderful team. We're all invested in helping our fellow immigrants, and we're happy that we're called to do this. So, Political Pen Owner says, I'm not sure immigrants have right under this new America. Just pray for God's guidance. Yes, we always pray for God's guidance. However, remember this, that regardless of what people are saying, the Constitution is still the Constitution. And as a lawyer, I know this, that sometimes things are not the way we want it to be. And we know that we have to fight for the right things, right? So I guess if other people see this as, oh my God, this is terrible. But for us as lawyers, we see this as a challenge that we have to, do what needs to be done to right the situation. And we do it legally because there are laws. America is a country of laws. And that's one thing I am so proud about this. I'm proud to be American because I'm proud to be in a country where we have laws that people follow. And of course, things are looking a little crazy these days, but I have confidence in the fact that at some point, things will right itself because we are a country of laws, all right? So we pray for God's guidance, and we continue to do our best. If you want to file, you need to file. Please stop waiting for another administration, because honestly, when I think of how easy it was back in the day to get SIJS status for people, and how it gave them deferred action, how it gave them work permits, how it just made life so easy for them. And I think of how we're struggling for everything we want now. That tells you, please, if you have a pathway, file, okay? Edith, thank you. I appreciate. So Jamison says, can a child that was brought here at 1 year, undocumented through the border, and raised here, filed DACA in 2020, and raised here, filed DACA in 2021, but was picked up by ICE and sent back to Mexico with not familiar with the country, can he apply for a visa to come back? Oh, that's going to be really tough, okay? Because if somebody has been deported, and if you say he was here for a long time, and probably if he was over the age of 18, he accumulated unlawful presence. And if he doesn't have I mean, it's not impossible to come here, but there has to be a pathway to come here. Who's going to file for him? Does he have a parent? He's 19 now. So if after the age of 18, depending on when he was picked up, he would have a 3-year bar or a 10-year bar. So if he was picked up after he turned 18, and he was only here in the United States 18 years, maybe, well, within 6 months of when he turned 18 and a half, then he has a 3-year bar. If he was here a whole year after he turned 18, he likely has a 10-year bar. And so the issue is, how is he going to come here? Who's going to file for him? He has to have a family member filing for him. And because of he has a bar, he's going to have to wait out the bar. So if you want to talk about this case, you can call us. I mean, we would want to ask more questions, but the bottom line is he's going to have a pathway to bring him back here. Somebody has to file for him, and if it was a parent that would file for him, then that would work. But I suspect that his parents are not U.S. citizens, you know, or green card holders. Yeah, God is in control for sure. God is in control, guys. I know it's really hard, honestly. I'm not. I mean, I do consultations like 3 times a week, and the stories I hear are just heartbreaking, you know. But like I say, you know, immigrants have support. You know, we see people out there protesting the way immigrants are being treated, protesting the killing of Americans, protesting the way ICE is treating people. So people are fighting, you know, so you got to fight for yourself too. You got to figure out if there's a way. Now, there's not a way for everyone. There's some people that don't have pathways. That's, you know, but at least find out, you know. You don't want to be the one that didn't file something and then found out that, you know, you were out of time. And that happens a lot with young people because they don't hear about SIJS, and then they turn 21 and they would have qualified if they heard about it. That's why it's so important to reach out to young people that you know who are here undocumented, even people who are here even on an F1. Find out if they may be able to qualify for SIJS, you know. All right, so let's look at, somebody said, how many years can one file for citizen after VAWA? That's 3 years. So if you have VAWA, if you have an approved VAWA case and you got your green card through VAWA, 3 years from when you got your green card, you can apply for citizenship. That's a wonderful thing about VAWA, is you don't have to wait 5 years. You have 3 years and you're good, okay? All right, let's see if we get any more questions. Jason from Minnesota, we're so proud of you guys because you guys are showing us what it looks like to care for your neighbor, okay? All right, I'm trying to see where the questions are. You know, I have to click through it and I can't do it too fast because then it makes me dizzy. So Cynthia says, how long will it take to get a green card right now if you get married? If your spouse is a U.S. citizen, we're looking at maybe, I don't know, maybe a year, you know, maybe a little over a year. It really depends. All this question about how long, it really depends on where you are, how, you know, what your immigration history is, who you're married to. But typically, if you're married to a U.S. citizen, we kind of look at anywhere within a year. We consider that not abnormally long. But if you're married to a green card holder, first of all, you have to be in legal status to be able to file an adjustment of status if you're married to a green card holder. And if you're not in legal status, then it's going to take a really long time because you have to file a waiver for unlawful presence. And when that waiver is approved, you have to go back to your country. However, if in the process your spouse becomes a U.S. citizen, you can at that time file an adjustment of status application. All right. All right. So what else? I'm looking for questions, guys. Looking for questions. All right. All right, let's see. Are there questions on Instagram? I don't see any questions on Instagram, guys. I'm going to head out because I think, okay, somebody said, I got my 10-year green card via VAWA in 2022. When can I apply for citizenship? So 23, 24, 25. I think you're about right now. I am Ray. I think you're about right now, okay? Because you can apply within 3 years of getting your green card if you got your green card through VAWA. All right. All right. So somebody says, I'm an F1 student and I'm looking for other pathways to get a green card. So Delphine, you're going to need to talk to an attorney because as an F1 student, first of all, you know you can get OPT. Get your OPT. Make sure you file on time so you can get your OPT. If your employer files H-1B for you, that allows you, because H-1B is 6 years, and your employer can always file a green card petition for you. Now, depending on what you're studying, if you have a master's degree or you have a specialized area, there are things like EB1 or EB1, EB2 national interest waiver, EB3, there are things. So you really want to talk to an attorney that does employment immigration. Of course, if you get married, if you fall in love with a U.S. citizen in a bona fide marriage, that's something else. Can an American citizen child file for her mother who is married to someone else other than her father? Of course, as long as if the American citizen child is over the age of 21, they can file for their mother, biological mother, adoptive mother. There are rules to all of that. But yes, the person does not have to be married to the child's father. That's correct. Sebas says, can I detain you with your adjustment of status pending? I have no criminal record. I came with a visa and I have more than 7 years here. So Sebas, typically you're not the one that's been, because you came with a visa that has expired, I'm sure, and you have an adjustment of status pending, and you don't have a criminal record, you're not typically the person that ICE is looking to detain. However, this administration is very unpredictable. So I can only tell you that typically when somebody comes with a visa and they've overstayed and they get you for some reason and decide to put you in removal proceedings, they typically don't take you. If you have an adjustment of status pending, they typically don't take you. So typically, I can tell you what typically does not happen. So. All right. So Brown Aisha says, if you're married to a green card holder and not living in the U.S., how long does it take for your spouse to file for you? A long time. So go look at the visa bulletin, and if you're married to a green card holder, look under F2B. It will tell you the cases they're working on, and I don't remember what it is, but you have to wait for a visa to become available. Of course, you should put in the petition, the I-130 petition right now, so that, because once you put the I-130 petition in, that becomes your priority date. And that priority date is what will determine when your case, when there's a visa available to you, okay? All right, Delphine is a doctorate program, amazing. So talk to an immigration lawyer that does employment so that they can get into the details of it for you, okay? So G. Jala says, is it possible to get status on a religious workers visa? Yes, it is. That's called the R1 visa. But remember, if you're looking for the R1 visa and you're here in the United States, you must be in legal status. You cannot get the R1 visa in the United States if you're out of status. Now, if you're outside the United States, you can also apply for an R1 visa, but there are several requirements. First of all, you have to be a member of the religious organization that is filing for you for at least 2 years. Number two, that religious organization must be properly designated as a non-for-profit. And the job that you're going to work in, you have to work in it has to be some work in the vocation, religious vocation. So there are certain requirements for the R1 visa, but yes, you definitely can get status with the R1 visa. And the good thing about the R1 visa is you can renew it. I think it is 2.5 years the first time, then you can renew it again for another 2.5 years. And I think they changed the law just recently that says that you don't even have to go back to your country. If you're here, you don't have to go back for a year. You just have to go back and go back to and get another, go back to your home country and come back again. And if you're lucky, your employer, the religious organization, can file an I-360 green card petition for you while you're in R1 status. So an R1 is a win-win, okay? If you have somebody who's willing to do it for you, give us a call. We'll help you, 973-993-1900 or 713-600-1909. If there's a religious organization that has a job in a religious capacity and you meet all the qualifications, we can assist in helping you file that. What is VAWA? VAWA, one merchandise that says, is Violence Against Women's Act. It applies to men, women, and children. Basically, if you're married to a U.S. citizen or green card holder and you've been abused in the relationship, you can file for VAWA. It's a pathway to a green card. If you are the child of a U.S. citizen or green card holder and you're under 21 and you've been abused by, by your parents, step parent, adoptive parent, you can get a green card. Or if you're a parent of a U.S. citizen who's 21 and that U.S. citizen has been abusive towards you, because we see that a lot, especially now where children who are over 21 are being abusive to their parents who are undocumented, threatening them, or sometimes we have kids who are under the influence of drugs, just being, horrible to their parents, hitting them, or being emotionally abusive. We had a case where the son, or there was a son, was basically treating his mother as an unpaid nanny, like making her an unpaid house help, making her cook for him and his family, being very disrespectful to her, yelling at her, being verbally abusive because she didn't have papers, and they basically just treated her like an unpaid help, And so we won that case, and so that's what VAWA is. Okay, it's a humanitarian pathway to getting a green card based on an immediate relative relationship with a U.S. citizen or green card holder. All right. So Juan Montega said, I have an advanced parole because I'm waiting for my green card. Last month, I was pulled over and detained by U.S. Park Police because they're federal. They did that catch and release at the station. Is that bad? Juan, I can't really answer that because I don't really know enough about this. Okay, but you really should talk to an attorney, because if you have any arrest, that would be important, for your immigration case. It does not mean it's going to hurt it, but that's important for you to know whether it affects your case. Okay. All right. Yeah, Juan Montenegro, I would not travel right now. I'm going to just tell you straight up. Advanced parole does not protect you. It really didn't before, but we didn't have a lot of incidents of people coming in with problems. Advanced parole does not protect you. So I don't know the details of your particular case, but there are just so many cases that we're hearing about that just make no sense, that if I were you, I would sit my behind here. Okay. Yes, Trump's ban on certain countries affects all of that. EB1, EB2, it affects everything. For those countries, the 39 countries that had a ban, if you're here, it affects them. And for those outside, it affects those bans. Yep. So Unlimited says, can a green card holder from a banned country bring her mom to USA? Well, as a green card holder, you cannot file an immigrant petition for your mom, so that's not going to happen. And if you're looking to get a B1, B2 for her, there's a travel ban right now. Well, you can't get it for her; she has to get it for herself. But there's a travel ban right now, so that's not going to work. Yemi Bola said, yes, we do asylum. Dashin, I don't know why you were verbally approved, but you haven't seen anything in your CEAC portal. I don't know. I can't answer that because I don't know, what's happening there either. But you can follow up with them. That's always what we recommend. Follow up with them. If you don't live in the United States, but you're married to a U.S. citizen, it will take a while too. If you're not one of the countries that are involved in the ban, and depending on what country you're from, it could take anywhere from a year and a half to 2.5 years, because the process actually is a longer process when you're doing it from abroad. Okay. first of all, sometimes waiting to be called for an interview can take up to a year, depending on what country you're from. So yeah, it takes, yeah, depending on what country you're from, it could take anywhere from a year and a half to 2.5, maybe even more. Yeah. Obano, thank you so much. Thank you for your prayer. I appreciate it. All right. I am Ray. Says green card holders, Nigeria, can you travel to Nigeria and back without issue? Well, the thing is, as a green card holder, you can travel back and forth, regardless of, because green card holders are not included in the ban. But that's one question. The second question is, make sure your green card is not, you don't have any issues relating to that green card, because a green card does not protect you from being placed in removal proceedings when you come back. If USCIS thinks you didn't get your green card, properly, or there's some issues with the green card, or maybe who you're traveling with, because we've known green card holders traveling with somebody that's not their spouse, and boom, you refer to an immigration judge for them to take your green card from you. So just know that, okay? But like I said, people are applying to, are going abroad every day without a problem. You have to determine whether your case is clean enough and whether it's a risk you want to take. So JM Foundation, your question is not complete. Young Spesh says, if you came on a K1 visa and the visa you came with has expired, what happens when you haven't gotten your green card? Well, Young Spesh, I'm hoping that you got married within 90 days, and I'm hoping you filed your adjustment of status, because the K1 visa requires you to get married within 90 days. Remember, 90-day fiance, you're also supposed to file your adjustment of status. And that's all you really need to do, okay? 2-star Jory, you are so welcome. Thank you. So Matt Yale says, if you're from the countries involved in a ban and you're married to a U.S. citizen, what can you do to do what can you do to get a work authorization or green card? Or what's advice? Well, if you're from the 39 countries in the December 15th ban, you're in a different situation from those who are in the 75 country ban, okay? So if you're from the 39 country ban, nothing you can do, because they're putting a ban on all, or a pause rather, because that's what they call it, a pause on all immigration benefits such as work permits or adjudication for green cards. So they say they're going to review it again periodically. So like I said, there are lawsuits involved here. So let's see how this plays out in the next few months. Right now, there's really nothing we're doing except fighting lawsuits, okay? Okay, guys, I got to run. It's 6 o'clock my time, 7 o'clock Eastern. I got to run, but it was nice talking to you guys. I will come back here again next week for another live. In the meantime, if this was helpful to you, please feel free to share it to anybody who it could help. Remember, we all have a responsibility to help young people to be in a better place, so that they can they can have a future, because young people are our future. You know that, okay? All right, guys, take care. Bye-bye.